What's going on, sports fans? This is Jake Waxman.
And Tyler Lavalette.
Together, we are joined by Grant Smith over here. So we got three guys talk sports today. Grant, good to have you on the show, Grant.
Well, thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. I'm ready to talk sports with you guys.
Glad to hear that, man.
It's great to have you back, and I promise you this time, I'm not bolting out the door. I've got nothing else to worry about but just talking sports.
Jake, I got to tell you, we locked the door. You can't get out today.
Good.
All right, I'm trapped. All right, thanks for notifying me.
All right.
All right. With Grant Smith joining us, welcome to another Friday Roundtable from the studio here in Waterford. And to start things off, we're going to talk about what else but baseball.
Absolutely. Here in the Midwest region, it feels like a great time to be a fan of, if you're a Tigers fan, if you're a Cubs fan. The Tigers are doing pretty well in their overall system. If you don't mind, I'll just take a quick look at something. They are currently not only leading the American League record with the Central, but they have not only the best record in the American League, but they have with a 37-20 record, the best record in the majors right now. We have had a resurgent guys like Javi Baez who has done well. I have shown you plenty of clips that have shown amazing plays. However, I want to show you a clip from this past week against the Giants on Monday night, where with a bad umpire calling balls and strikes, him getting canned. Can we run that clip, please?
He got him with a curveball last at bat. And right there he does the same. That's called strike three. It was below the zone. And the crowd is reacting negatively. So is Javi.
Is this the
with
clip
Phil
where
Cousy.
he had a ball called and before AJ could get out and save him, he got tossed, and then he decided after he got tossed he was going to get his money's worth and try to take the umpire's head off. Because I heard it on the radio. I have not yet seen it, but what I heard on the radio was absolutely crazy.
AJ Hinch was one step
All right, so just keep on talking and they'll let us know when the clip is playing.
Yeah, it's just pretty bad.
He's going to leave this game.
Jake and I, a couple of days, a while back ago, we did some fun little interactions. And boy, have I been waiting to basically try to say this for a while. Oh, come! Oh, here we go. Here we go. We got something. I think we got it.
I'm talking.
All right, no doubt about it. I mean, anytime a guy gets a quick.
Oh, they only show a little bit?
So they just showed him walking off after he could not save Javi from getting picked out. Now, is it Javi Baez or what's his nickname? Jose Mays or something like that?
Javi Baez El Mago.
Okay.
The
Something like that.
magician in
Javier Baez,
Spanish
I believe
is
it
his
is.
longtime nickname.
Can you believe how well he is doing? I mean, I think that if you'd have talked to 100 baseball people in Detroit, 99 of them would have said he doesn't even belong on the team this year, and the other one said, I can't believe that he made the team. And yet he's the man right now, man. He is hitting home runs. He's making unbelievable catches in center field.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I just have a few things I want to say to that umpire who got him tossed over the balls and strikes. Oh, come on, what was that? I could tell that was better. That was better. I can tell better about that. You need glasses or at least LASIK surgery, pal.
Well, sometimes it's difficult anymore because the pitchers are throwing 10 mile an hour faster than 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, they're all touching 95 to 100. They used to be, the range was 85. If you had a great fastball, it was 84, 85. You maybe had one or two relievers that would catch 100. Now they're all hitting speeds of that. And it's difficult. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever tried to or sat behind home plate at a baseball game and see it. It's difficult to see the ball. I mean, I would be terrified to be in the batter's box, let alone trying to call balls and strikes.
For the record, I'd like to add, I've actually been behind home I've been lucky enough. I went with a couple of relatives of mine to a Tigers game back in 2017, and we sat right behind home plate.
Wow.
And it is hard to see the ball, but you get quite a view of like how fast it comes.
Yep.
It spooked me a couple of times watching the ball just hit the cage.
Like, were you in the area where you can see it on television?
Yeah.
Dang.
It rattles that cage, like especially when they're going that fast. It's insane.
Yeah, I've been near, but obviously not in that immediate frame. And what doesn't help now is the reworked backstop makes it, with those luxury seats looking all unoccupied, makes the ballpark view look like it's a lot emptier than it is.
Well,
Not exactly the best look you got there, Illich.
Well, those seats are like $900 seats apiece. Comes with heated or cooling seats. It comes with drinks and food. You go up the stairs and you got the luxury suite that has all your food and all your drinks and your exotic foods are there for you. You just have to walk up and get them in between innings. But it's a couple very expensive ticket for each seat. That's not for four. That's for each one. So it's taken a while for this to catch on with people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, still not the best look. I mean, don't get me wrong, the brick that they have on the backstop nowadays is nice. Don't get me wrong. What they did, it looks good, but yeah, like we said, the pricing is a little heavy. I get what they're going for and why they did it, but still, the optics aren't speaking well amongst Detroit sports reporters.
So, Tyler, do you want them to go in the storage room and get those cut-off people that they had during COVID?
I get that fake
Thanks
audience twice.
for reminding me of the awkwardness of watching sports 5 years ago.
There you go.
I want to put that into my far, far back into my brain and never speak about it again.
All right. Well, let's talk about something better with the Tigers. A two-hitter, 98 pitches, 13 strikeouts. Nobody had ever done that before.
That's
The
crazy.
man is going for Cy Young Award number 2, folks. We are lucky to have the best pitcher in baseball right now on those Detroit Tigers.
Tarek Skubal?
Eric Skubal is the man.
Oh, man,
I've
he's
heard all about
awesome. Any Skubal game you watch is must-see TV for good reason. He's awesome. And not to say the rest of the guys are at guard. I mean, Spencer Torkelson's awesome. I mentioned that he's my mom's favorite player because, well, he is. He hits those torque bombs at times, and when he doesn't, he's still pretty good.
I like that.
He's another one. I mean, if it wasn't, Baez wasn't doing so well and was so horrible the last 3 years, Torkelson coming out of nowhere, making the team basically because the second baseman got hurt. And they moved
Baez, yep.
They moved the guy from first to back to second. That was the second baseman last year. And Torque got to start the year, and he's just played so well they can't take him out.
Hard to.
And what was Hitch
Momentum.
said? They asked him if he
Momentum.
was going to move Baez out of the 9th spot, and he said, "Heck no! Why would I touch something that's working like that?"
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's absolutely correct.
Truer words were never spoken.
All right.
And I just like that. As a Cubs fan, I'm so happy for Baez. I'm happy that he is thriving in Detroit. Do I wish he was in Chicago? Yes. But you know what? I'm all smiles for him. I like seeing, even with Cubs, departing from the Cubs and going to playing for other teams, you're happy to see him succeed elsewhere. And Baez right now, he's just blowing off the doors right now. Same with Torque, as you guys mentioned. There's another guy that's doing really well for the Tigers. I think Tigers. Green, I believe. Is
Yeah,
his name?
Riley Green.
Riley Green.
I've been impressed with Riley Green.
He got off to a horrible start, but boy, has he made up for it the month of May, man.
Yeah, it is just awesome. This team is awesome. When you think about that run from last August and factoring into how this team is doing, it's like that run isn't truly over.
That's right. So I'm sorry.
It ended in October, but against Cleveland. But beyond that, the momentum is there.
So let me ask you guys a question. A good topic on sports radio this week was, which Detroit team do you think is most likely to win the title? And before the beginning of this year, I think everybody would say the Lions. They went 15-2 last year. But you found out that even though you were 15-2 and you were you had the number 1 seed, it's one game and you're done.
Yeah.
Whereas in baseball, it's a 5 or a 7 game series. And I got to tell you what, the Lions pitching, the starting pitching that they have, you put those 3 or 4 their top pitchers against anybody else's top 4 pitchers, you got Scooble. You got to mark that down as 2 wins. And so you really only have to win 2 more out of the other 5 games, and I think their pitching staff can do it. I think the Tigers are most likely to be the team to win the next major title of the 4 teams we have.
Look, I have seen World Series appearances in my lifetime in 06 and 2012. 06 was a 5-game loss to the Cardinals. Lucky to win the game 2 in Detroit. 2012, everyone was saying, oh, this is the Tigers' year. A very hot, playing with fire, San Francisco Giants comes in, steamrolls us in our own stadium. In the midst of their even-year championship dynasty. Not one of those wins with that team was at their stadium, surprisingly. But to suddenly have that thought of a Tigers bringing home the Commissioner's Trophy to Detroit, something that Mike Ilitch wanted for so long, oh man, it's just something you just gotta hope you just gotta keep yourself possibly thinking of, but just don't get too caught up in the high, you know.
That's right. So the only thing that can stop the Tigers this year is if they play the Cubs in the World Series. Turning it over to you now, Jake.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
You know what? I hope that happens. I hope we get a Tigers versus Cubs World Series. I mean, with the way both teams are playing right now, it's not impossible. Maybe unlikely, but not impossible. To answer your question, Grant, I mean, the Lions have been great. And you know what? Detroit right now, Motown is vibing right now. They're hopping. They got a lot to be excited about, especially this summer. But between the Lions and the Tigers, I got to say the Tigers by just this much, because I think the Tigers, they found something. I don't know what they found in their postseason run last year, but they found something. And whatever they found, they're riding it. And it is fueling this Tigers team. It's propelled them to the top record right now in the AL, if I am correct.
That they have.
I mean, I think the Lions, of course, will have a great chance, and Pistons are going to continue improving. And you guys said we'll see about the direction of the Red Wings, but you know what? Hey, Motown, I hope you're hopping right now. You better be hopping around because the vibes are good, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, you're going to really experience that on next Saturday.
And, all right, since you guys brought up the Cubs, I'll talk about them for a little bit. Can we see that clip on the Cubs? Obviously, here's a home run, or not a home run, but a nice base hit by Tucker to get the Cubs up 2-1 on the Colorado Rockies. The Cubs would go on to sweep this series. So I will say this. All right, so maybe not everything's going according to plan for the Cubs, but you know what? They're finding all sorts of ways right now to win games, especially out in the National League. Even these close games, you got to learn how to win these close games. And the Cubs, they're actually, even though the bats have gone quiet, they're finding ways to win. And it's a good thing. Defense and the bullpen is looking a little bit better. Unfortunately, they ended up losing to the Cincinnati Reds today. But, hey, it's one game, and it's a marathon, as Tyler said. Mm-hmm. As it stands right now, the Cubs are 35-22. They hold the top spot right now in the NL Central, and they're battling it out with Philly for the top spot in the NL. I think we're about half a game back.
That is correct, as per what I saw on ESPN when I brought up the records overall.
I cannot say I saw this coming. I'm stunned. This Cubs team, they've caught me by complete surprise. I should have picked them to make the playoffs. They are making me look like a fool. All right, you know what, guys? I believe in this Cubs team, and you know what? If they keep doing what they're doing, and Craig Counsell, maybe a contender for Manager of the Year, if there's an award for that.
Definitely NL Manager of the Year in that front.
Yeah, he's a strong contender for NL Manager of the Year with the way he has handled the Cubs situation. And the hardest part of the Cubs schedule, way behind them now. Wow. This team, if they keep playing the way they're playing, maybe, just maybe, they can go the distance, and maybe we get our prophetic matchup of Detroit versus the Chicago Cubs in the World Series. We're gonna get a look. Me and Tyler, by the way, are gonna get a look into that next Saturday. We're going to the ball game. Ain't that right, Tyler?
That it is. Now, here's the thing. You got to not rest on your laurels because you still got to worry about St. Louis.
We're only 3 games ahead of them as far as I remember, maybe 2 now. But yeah, just marathon, all right? Keep doing what you're doing, Cubs, one game at a time, one win at a time. All the things you're doing well, if they keep doing the things that they're doing well, obviously, not only are they going to be in the postseason, but they could make a lot of noise in this postseason. The Cubs, wow, what a change. I'm starting to get vibes from 2016 again.
There you go. Well, one thing we all have to temper down just a little bit. You got June, July, August, and September. You've only got a third of the season in right now, and as well as you're playing, we saw it with the Lions. A couple of injuries. It's great when all your starting pitchers are doing well, but we know that you're just a couple of pitches away from the DL and a year off for Tommy John surgery with a pitcher. So enjoy it right now. Start that bank account for your World Series tickets, but don't put a whole. Maybe you'll be able to get yourself a nice steak dinner at the end of the year instead of your World Series tickets. That's what I gotta say.
Right now, it's just I don't see us buying tickets to the World Series anytime soon. I make my money and all, but it's not in my cards.
Yeah, not to mention, you think about it. If it's Cubs versus Tigers in the World Series, I don't think it's going to happen. But if that does happen, oh, my God. Tickets are going to be way up here in terms of price. Boom. They're going to be super expensive.
Not to mention any any flights between O'Hare and Metro, as sort of flight it is. But still, you got to factor that in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm happy the Cubs are doing well. But thank you guys for the tip, and thank you for reminding me, hey, we still got a long ways to go. And the Cubs, they have had problems in the past with the second half of the season. They have collapsed in the second half of the season. Just got to, you know what? Like I said, can't let up. And, hey, we need those bats to get loud again because that will help us, to help the Cubs get through that second part of the season.
Super, super important. And, yeah, agree on tempering your expectations slightly. Even I've kept watch a weary eye on knowing what happened when you hit past the All-Star game and the trade deadline. Because
whole new season.
Yep, the second half of the season is crucial. And we all know about having the Lions. Those injuries on defense did not help at all. And against Washington, they bit us pretty bad. So you just got to keep your guard up and not drink the Kool-Aid too much.
But Kool-Aid tastes so good in the summertime, doesn't it, guys?
It does. It's nice and refreshing. I know, but still, you gotta just be very careful when you got over 100 or so games left in the season.
Yep. And one more thing to keep in mind. Big tests for both the Cubs and the Tigers. As I said it with Tyler, they're playing each other not this weekend, but the next weekend in the heart of the Motor City. Going to be a great, great test for both of these baseball programs. Can the Cubs keep that momentum going? Can the Tigers just keep rolling on that high? Who's going to come out of the series with 2 or 3 victories? We'll find that out. But looking forward to seeing what both of these two teams can do.
I'm also looking forward to, in the interim, seeing how we do against Kansas City and doing another nice 4-game sweep for the White Sox.
That other Chicago team.
The Chicago team I don't even talk about. No. There can only be one in my heart.
No. I've given you that strong tip for a reason, Jake.
Oh, yeah.
So,
but that's the thing. When you're in Chicago, you can't root for both. You have to root for one or the other. There's no.
I made it clear.
It's the same thing in New York. You can't root for the Yankees and the Mets. You have to choose one or the other. It is absolutely a given. So I got to ask you two guys. We've got Mr. Cub over here. We have Mr. Tiger over here. You're going to the game. It's a 3-game series. Is it just bragging rights, or you got a little skin in there? You got a little bet going on between the two of you? You got a fin out there for the winner? A Diet Coke or something?
I mean, Tyler, if you want to make a bet, we can. But so far, it's just bragging rights.
Just bragging rights right now. We never really done anything like that.
But
All right, well, no betting on the air. That's illegal. So you do have to do that out on the other side of the cameras, guys.
Yeah,
but
we'll just not. We'll keep it. If any plans do come about, we'll just keep it friendly
Yeah.
and informal.
all right, I'm taking them down the road, the path to the dark side here. I had to steer them back to the light. All right, guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
So in conclusion for this topic, hey, Tigers, Cubs, good times for both so far. And for the fan bases of both of them, go get your good times. While you got
Absolutely.
'em.
And also, Rockies fans, I am so sorry with how your team has been doing right now. It is not fun.
My apologies.
You are going to be making the White Sox lost record from last year look like nothing. And I would feel sorry for going to Coors Field as a Rockies fan.
All right. We are shifting gears to
Ooh.
auto racing. This was Grant's suggestion,
All
so
right.
let's get things rolling. So we had an Indianapolis 500 last week, a crazy Indy 500 full of just so much to talk about. Grant, I'll let you take it away.
Well, it started a week early during qualifying when two of the Penske two of their three cars were disqualified from the second round qualifying because they had illegally modified the attenuator, which is the back of an Indycar has a what they call an attenuator. So if the car backs in, it absorbs the blow, and it connects to the car. And they had filled in that connection because the aerodynamics, even at that point of the car, having that little space be filled in, they felt gave them an advantage. Now, okay, Penske has a history of taking everything right to the edge. The Unfair Advantage is the name of a book by Mark Donahue, one of their original drivers. Okay, that's fine and dandy, but unfortunately it goes beyond that because Roger Penske owns the team, he owns the Speedway, and he owns Indycar, the sanctioning body.
Yeah.
And the optics there are not good. And I have followed Roger Penske my entire life. I think the world of him, and you could see the pain on his face when he had the interview where he had to confess what had happened. He fired the top three guys on his IndyCar and Team Penske's side. I mean, Tim Cendrick was basically going to be the guy running the Penske organization once Roger Penske passed along. He was the guy, and he had to go, as two other guys had to do. And continuing that, there was discussion that Honda, one of the two engine suppliers, had been demanding that they were going to leave the series unless they created a third-party organization to run the events and do the scrutineering of the cars. And that was a condition even before this happened. Now I'm definitely sure that Chevrolet is going to jump in there, and so are many of the teams are going to say that. So that's just what happened before the race happened.
The latter part of the whole officiating thing is just surprising, but you can't ignore that forever after what we had seen the weekend before the big race even happened.
Yep. So then race day starts, and it's the second coldest day since the debacle that they had about 15 years ago. I don't know the exact year. I was actually at that race when the tires would not heat up and cars were just wrecking right and left. And again, we had chaos here. We had the other Penske car, which had not been disqualified, starting 10th, wreck on a pace lap. He was warming the tires up, lost control, boom, out of the race.
Yeah, poor Scott McLaughlin. He got hosed twice, basically. The first crash, and then to have that happen at the start of the race, he got screwed.
Yeah.
I felt so horrible for Scotty Mack, too. I thought he would have good chance to go win as long as he took care of the race car, and just to wreck on the pace, that really painful pill to swallow.
And I think it goes back to that other race where Roberto Guerrero actually spun out on a pace lap before. That has happened before. But you you can't, as a regular person that has never driven, whatever, a high performance engine combination with low gearing, you can easily spin the tires and lose control while we're trying to warm it up. And it happened to him in the biggest stage, and you could just see how dejected he was.
Yeah, I don't blame him. He that look on his face was just, poor guy. And yeah, 92 was the coldest 500, and I of course wouldn't know about it because I wasn't born until that September. So,
well, I want to tell you, in 1992, I was freezing myself off on the stands there. It was cold. I mean, there were people there in shorts that had to leave. It was unbelievable how cold that race was.
Gosh, I couldn't even imagine. Like the race, I've been to auto races before, and usually it's during the heat of the summer, like in June. But man, and this is in May. Have that kind of temperatures, I can't even comprehend.
Yep.
I agree. And my mom, he and I went to a Tigers game in April, and we had to leave early because of how cold it was. Baseball in the northern states, when you're dealing with the freezing temps in April, is just not exactly a fun thing to do. What we had to deal with the Indy 500 in the weekend that marks the unofficial start of American summers, crazy.
Absolutely.
So we had a bunch of crashes during the race. Unfortunately, a few cars wrecked. But then we got to the end, and lo and behold, the guy that's been dominating the year, Mr. Pillow, suddenly he's in second, makes the pass for the lead. And then you had these two other cars that kind of got in front of him that were messing with his air a little bit, but he was able to maintain and win his first Indy 500. But then, after the race, the next morning, the second place car, I think the fifth and the ninth place, the second place car got disqualified. His teammate got disqualified, and the teammate of the guy that was the pole sitter all got disqualified and classified 31st, 32nd, and 33rd for violating rules that they caught in post-race inspection, which is always bugs me with racing, and that if you get caught after the race, why didn't you get caught pre-race, especially IndyCar, because the scrutiny in IndyCar pre-race is pretty thorough.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, how could you pass in pre-race and then have a problem in post-race? I mean, yeah, you change tires. You might do a little adjustments on the car if need be. You're definitely filling up the gas. I mean, this is in Formula One. Like, how?
You know, this is something I'm kind of struggling to kind of grasp because, they pass pre-race, of course, the car's set up, and, you're going to make changes throughout the race to adjust to the track conditions, or maybe the driver, wants more grip on one side of the car as the other. And I remember hearing the 28 and the 27, they got penalized for the same thing. Of course, the 90 of Callum Ilott, he was penalized for, I guess, an improper wing adjustment or something like that. I'm kind of still confused. How could they, I'm with you guys on that. Could it have been some adjustment that they made that somehow, I guess, IndyCar now doesn't like? You know what? I'm as confused as you guys are. I think IndyCar kind of needs to take a closer look into the inspection process and be a little more thorough with the fans. And maybe some changes need to come about.
Well, I can guarantee you Roger Penske will make these changes. I mean, he is a very honorable man. I felt really bad for him. He wants to win, but he wants to win the right way.
Absolutely.
And what his team did and what his scrutineering team did, I'm sure that he is, he's well into his 80s now, but I'm sure that he's working exclusive. I mean, he has so many different businesses. He's kind of, they call him the captain because he captains all of them, and he puts people in place that he expects to run them correctly. And it really hurts him when they go awry. And I guarantee you, they'll get to the bottom of this. That's how much I feel for Mr. Roger Penske.
Good. I mean, especially now that his home race and General Motors' home race is set to happen on the streets of downtown this is going to likely be the last year that the GM will get to see the race from at the Rensen, because with their move to the Dan Gilbert built site on the side of the old Hudson's headquarters.
Yep.
Which, as far as I'm aware of, is nowhere close to where the track is going to be at along the riverfront.
Yep. Cars were on the streets of Detroit today, actually, was the first day of practice. Usually first day of practice is free, and then Saturday and Sunday you have to pay to get in. Of course, there's, people that know people that can go sit in a high rise and look down on the track like at Monaco.
If I remember correctly, there are sections at the tracks that they do allow that are free access, which is a good thing.
I'm kind of torn about them racing in the streets of Detroit. I thought Belle Isle was a wonderful track.
That it was.
You had great access to that, but for whatever reason, they felt that they wanted to do it on the streets of Detroit, and so therefore, I think it was more like Belle Isle is a green space, a lot of environmental things there, and they were worried about the wear and tear on the island. So
yeah, the protesters and all weren't exactly helping things out. Although, to be fair, they have a valid point. Oh, on the other hand, I missed the shots of the Scott fountain at the Victory Lane celebration.
Yeah, to be fair, Roger Penske and his organization pumped millions of dollars into renovating Belle Isle. So I think being able to run a race once a year on there was a fair trade-off in the manner that they did it. I mean, they did it in a very environmentally friendly way, that they leave behind a very great facility for people to enjoy.
He and I, in fact, went in 2018 to the second of the two races when he did double headers, and we saw the pace car crash before the race even began. Well, we didn't see it per se, but we heard about it.
Yeah, every now and then you get a pace car that crashes, and that just makes everybody have a good time laughing at that poor guy.
The fact that Mark Royce, who crashed it, didn't suffer any bad injuries makes it all the more enjoyable.
Yep.
We aren't talking about a fatality here, thankfully.
Kind of goes back to what you said, Grant. It's hard to control these high-performance cars.
Right.
A Corvette pace car, in a sense, is no different.
Nope.
Like one wrong move, and that thing is going around on you, as it did in 2018 on the...
So a few years ago, I was lucky enough to be a guest of Goodyear at MIS for the NASCAR race. And part of that deal was to get a ride in the pace car, which was driven by sheriff deputies. And it was, and you're doing maybe 130 ish at the top, and the reason is that the tires are rated for speed, and if you exceed a certain speed, you can damage the tires. So, an interesting story is Richard Childress was giving some VIPs laps, and he was exceeding the speed to the point that they had to pull that car out and change the tires. So he got yelled at by Goodyear a little bit, but it's Richard Childress. So okay,
Come on, kind of
renowned
back,
NASCAR.
guys.
yeah. So another thing about Indy, just I wanted to point out here is that IndyCar looks like a driver with little of experience in their first Indy 500 can be successful. Kyle Larson last year, not much experience, had a very successful first year. The pace sitter this year was very successful. Rookie team. Got in the race. He ran over a couple of crew people. But this year, Larson, had a hard time. He wrecked 3 times, twice in practice, once in a wreck. So I think that with little knowledge, you don't know what you don't know, and you can do what they tell you, and you can have a good finish. But once you start going into that, okay, think I know what I'm doing range, you can step over the edge just a little bit. And I'm not saying anything bad about Kyle Larson. He just had a bad Indy 500, wrecked 3 times, and then he went to the 600 and spun out and wrecked a second time. He didn't have a good day.
That's an understatement, and all the people are thinking, we'll be able to race in the 600. Well, at least the wreck allowed him to race no problem. But it was not a good day for Kyle Larson. And with Prema, Jake and I, we can eat crow on the fact that we picked one of their guys to get bumped.
Oh boy.
I thought Robert Schwartzman was going to be the guy that got bumped because I was watching his practice speeds and they were not looking good.
They were not.
He was like 28th at the highest in any of the practices, but credit to him and his team. They found something and they were able to and Schwartzman was able to put that car on the pole, which is impressive, especially he was a rookie too.
The interesting thing about Indy qualifying is that up until Friday, they have a limited. There's a thing called the boost, which is how much the turbocharger and whatever can go in the engine, whatever. Okay, it's limited on the practices. Then on Friday, the day before qualifying, they are allowed to up the boost, and that's why you see the jump in speeds.
Yeah,
and. Maybe Prima, that extra boost was what that guy needed. Well, clearly it was, because suddenly he went from, is he going to make the race, to he sat on the pole.
I know.
Really
We weren't expecting it.
And he was doing pretty well until that one pit stop where sadly he hit a couple crew members.
Yeah.
No fatalities, thankfully.
Yeah.
It's hard to stop those cars on pit road, and even let alone getting on pit road is difficult in one of those cars.
I think he had an issue with the brakes. He said that, the front brakes were locking up, as I was coming in, trying to warm the brakes up, and then when I went to pull in, the front's locked up, and when your front's locked, you have no steering. It just goes straight, which is unfortunately what happened to him.
That makes sense then. A lot of guys were having issues with brakes too during that race, and all sorts of issues going on across that race. I mean, we had Alexander Rossi, who was running really well. His team had a great strategy in that race, and then at one point, the drivetrain or the gear shaft just started overheating, and he had to bring that car to pit road, and when they removed the tire, big inferno.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, he was able to watch it in central Indiana thanks to the grandstands being sold out.
Thank the Lord for that.
There you go.
I will say this every year, even though I'm in Waterford, that blackout is stupid.
Yeah, it needs to end, okay? The thing is, hey, a lot of it, the Indy 500's fan base is around that central area. And here's something else we forget. The people around that area pay taxes, and a lot of this tax money goes to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So I think we should be thinking more about those people around the Indianapolis, especially the Speedway area, okay? We shouldn't be blacking out the race because you want people to, I get it. You're trying to get more people to come to the race, but if you want to encourage people to come to the race so you don't have to black it out, okay, you got to do some things.
I think that ultimately, 5-10 years down the road, with streaming becoming what it is, you'll be able to. Everything's going to be streaming. Unfortunately, you can just see NASCAR 600 was on Prime this year.
First of 5 races.
Yep.
I heard that broadcast was actually really, really good. A lot of people are saying a lot of good things about it.
Yes, I was able to watch a good chunk of it, not the whole race because I was there for dinner. But the thing is, it was well produced. Pre-race was good. Post-race went up to 45 minutes. They even interviewed Ross Chastain in Victory Lane. Not having to worry about any commercial for local stuff because being on streaming meant you could have green flag races with ads in the box format.
Yep.
And the last 60 races, commercial free.
You can do a lot. Yeah, you can do a lot with streaming that the networks cannot do. They did something that I always thought you should do. They gave you the experience before the actual start of the pre-race show. If you tuned in, they had cameras just walking around, seeing stuff and hearing it. You got the flavor as if you were there, walking around, seeing the pretty girls, looking at the cars, seeing the race cars.
Love to see that.
All that. That is part of the being at the race experience. They did that for like 10, 15 minutes before they actually started the pre-race show. And that you could never do that on network TV, so.
I am going to have to tune in early to watch the race in Nashville, then I
got him with the pretty girls, didn't I? I knew
I'm
it.
single. I know, not just the women. Look, I'm single. I'm telling you, I'm single, but come on.
Yeah, but they had experienced NASCAR
awesome.
announcers, the gal that ran the pre-race show is on Sirius NASCAR radio.
Yep.
Robin Swoboda and whatnot. So a lot of experience there, and they probably got to do the pre-race and post-race show that they've always wanted to do, and it showed. Now, we all are praising them for that, and everybody in NASCAR Nation's praising them for that. Well, obviously, Prime paid an awful lot of money. They're not going to say, you guys had a terrible show either, because we like your money.
Look, we're going to have to deal with them for these for until early 2030s for these 5 races. But if we can get something good like this for the next 5 races up until 2031, what's stopping them from wanting to go after the person Fox has? What Prime did for that one race alone is basically Fox kind of making how their broadcast has been, with how bad Fox's broadcasts have been getting these days, it makes them kind of want to, you know what.
I think you got in Prime the show that a race fan wanted to see. And I think with Fox, you get a lot of joking around because their audience isn't exclusively hardcore race fans. So us hardcore race fans love the Prime show, whereas you've got people watching on Fox that probably love it when they're joking around. But, you know, from how they did was absolutely great.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's kind of the same thing when it comes to, like, say, Fox's coverage of IndyCar. They joke around quite a bit, too. Their audience is a lot different there. So,
and I will give Fox credit for one area when they did the Wienermobile race. I could give Fox, Buxton, Taunton Hill, and Hinchcliffe points for not taking that race seriously.
If you can make 6 Wienermobiles, have you ever seen one up close in person? I have.
I think at least one.
If you put 6 of them on a thin little, that was fun to watch. And you had the crowd cheering the last second pass. I mean, come on.
I could give Fox credit for that. They had fun with that race. I'll give them credit for that for a first-time 500. If that's become the yearly thing for Fox, more for them. That's fun. That was good, clean, harmless, wholesome racing fun.
All right, 30-odd seconds on Formula One. You ran out last time before we got to Formula One. It looks like it's McLaren with both
Piastri and Norris.
There you go, versus Verstappen. Interestingly, they've got changes to the flexibility of the front and rear wings that some people think will help Ferrari because they were a lot more conservative than the other ones. So you might see a shift. There's still 16 races to go. Anything can still happen, but I think unless this really drastically changes, I think it's a three-guy race for the championship.
And hey, after the past few years with Verstappen being so dominant, maybe it's about time we've got something in Formula One that an American fan base knows about: close contention for the title. We haven't had that happen since 21.
Yep.
Yeah, we got definitely a better championship battle in Formula One than we do in IndyCar, and it pains me to say that because just give Palou the Astor Cup already. I will say this, it's definitely Max Verstappen versus the McLarens, and I will say this: I've been very impressed with McLaren's second driver, Oscar Piastri. I think he is doing a fantastic job driving that second car, and it would not surprise me if, even with Lando Norris being at McLaren, that he ends up winning a championship in the second McLaren car.
I think it's very interesting. I don't know that they would be willing to say that they have a number 1 and a number 2. It certainly probably isn't in the contracts. They have papaya rules that they race by, but I think that's kind of sounds more like it's based off of how you qualify as to how you're going to race each other. But Piastri has 3 wins and Norris has 2. Piastri's ahead in the series right now. I think they'll let them race as long as they don't take each other out. I think they'll let them race for quite a while until it becomes obvious. It was obvious in Le Mans that they worked together and kept the gaps that they needed to have, but were allowed to race if they would have needed to be. So I'm looking for. I think Formula One actually is more interesting than IndyCar, and you couldn't have said that 16 of the last 18 years for sure.
Absolutely. A great championship out, and like Grant said here, hopefully let them race each other, let them race cleanly. Let's see how this championship battle goes. Let's find out on the track, which of these McLaren drivers is the best?
Or does Verstappen have a chance to spoil this battle? Who
one's-
knows? There's still
Well,
16
fine.
races left, like you said. So
Here's one interesting thing, and then we'll move on to hockey. Verstappen has in his contract that if he finishes worse than fourth, he can opt out of his contract. And he could go to McLaren or anywhere he wants. He's third right now, and he's in the contention. He's not the kind of guy that's going to mail it in just to get out of a contract.
No, he's not.
But,
I don't think so.
but you get toward the end, who knows? I mean, that's just an interesting thing I found out this week, that he has that in his
I
contract.
just learned that today,
that's
actually.
what, in some internet terms, would be a TIL moment. Today I learned moment.
All right. Let's talk hockey, guys.
All
Come
right.
on.
Well, all right.
The gloves are off.
Ding, ding. All right.
Yeah.
Can we roll the clip, please? Because it's official. We have a Stanley Cup Finals rematch between the Oilers of Edmonton and those of Florida Panthers for the third straight. Well, this is the third straight year that the Panthers are in the Stanley Cup Finals, but this is the second straight year they're playing the Oilers for the greatest trophy in all of sports. Obviously, Florida right now. Going to be tough to beat. But here's the thing, guys. Both of these two teams, watching both of these two teams, it's clear they both have improved in great ways. Edmonton has more scoring depth than they did last season. And Florida, you got guys like Brad Marchand, who's helping to keep the momentum rolling. Even when they have a bad game, they bounce back in Florida fashion the next game.
Yeah, it's impressive to see Florida doing this well. I mean, you look at what they've had to go through. They looked like there were times against Toronto where it looked like they were done for. And y'all talk about Stanley Cup defending champion having a hangover. What hangover?
Yeah, but Tyler, it was Toronto. Come on. Toronto doesn't
It's
win.
the Leafs. It's the Leafs.
Yeah, some things just never change when you think about it.
The memes are still alive and kicking. Sorry, Toronto.
So it's been what, 20 some odd years since the Cup's gone up north? It has been a long time. 32 years.
Last time they won it was 93 with Montreal, which is also happened to be the last time they won it all.
Oh man.
You know, I every Monday I have a conference call with a group in my organization that's in Canada, and they are stoked again. They're confident that they're going to win this year, and I keep reminding them, you know, the last time Edmonton was before they actually went on a streak and won 4 or 5, I think they lost 4 in a row to the New York Islanders. So I'm thinking it's time for them to win lose 2 or 3 in a row to the Florida Panthers. They don't take that too well, but I mean that was back in the Gretzky era, by the way. Gretzky, you know, they lost like 3 or 4 against the Islanders. Islanders won 4 in a row before Edmonton finally broke through, and then they won 4 of the next 5. I'm showing my age, guys. You
Right, I understand
You
what
weren't
you're
even
saying.
born back then, but
I was a
I was a
year old
huge
when-
Gretzky fan, and it just killed me every year when they would lose. I mean, they would be at like best record, you know, scoring machines that they were, Messier, and they had the other guy that was the sniper of the group. They had the 3 top goal scoring guys, and Gretzky getting 180, 200 points a year. Islanders stopped them 4 years in a row. It was horrible.
Painful.
Yeah.
I bet the Oilers are hoping that's not going to be the same case with this Florida Panthers team.
Edmonton had the home ice advantage. They've got
That's
Connor
big.
McDavid and some other good guys. They're looking to be pretty good.
Leon Draisaitl as well. And also, one of the big X factors for Edmonton in this postseason, believe it or not, has been Stuart Skinner. He started off rough, lost his job, but then once he got it back, he really has not let it go. He's found his rhythm. He is playing comfortable hockey, but he's doing what Edmonton, at the very least, needs him to do. Hold down the crease. Hold the line. Be that brick wall. And against the Stars, he was that brick wall without a doubt. And he's recorded, I think, now 3 shutouts in this postseason.
Wow.
Here's the thing, though. The Oilers touched their Western Champion Conference winning trophy.
Oh, it's over. That's it. Jinxed. Total jinx.
There is a catch to this, though. They didn't touch it last year, and they lost it. So maybe they're taking the Sidney Crosby approach, because Sidney Crosby, he didn't touch it the first year he went to the Stanley Cup Finals and the Penguins lost. Touched it the second year. They won. Maybe, just maybe, it'll work for the Oilers. We'll find out. Maybe they'll finally win it all. You know what? Here's the thing. I was kind of one of those guys who was kind of all like, oh, I'm a Blackhawks fan, and when they won the Clarence Campbell Bowl, I never wanted them to touch it. They never did, and they won it all those times. Now that I've gotten a little older, I'm just like, okay, you know what? It's just a superstition, and there are teams that have touched it in the past and have found a way to win it.
Look. The AL and in baseball and in football and basketball, when they win their trophies, they're gonna get hoisted and touched. Like, why do you have to be so superstitious? Hockey.
Because they're hockey players, and hockey players are superstitious. They'll wear the same. I was going to say underwear, but socks until they lose. If you're on a goal-scoring streak, you wear the same underwear. You use the same stick until it breaks, man. Hockey players are superstitious. But I'll tell you what, if they believe that's just a superstition, they all should have picked it up and they should have skated all around rather than one person touching it and then, oh my God, they touched it. No, if you don't believe in a curse, then just embrace it and skate that thing around like it is the Stanley Cup. Enjoy the evening, and then the next morning sober up. Because they're hockey players, folks. They probably imbibed a little bit last night, and then sober up and then get back to work and get serious. But enjoy. I think you really should enjoy it. You can get out of the mood for 8 hours and enjoy what you've accomplished.
Absolutely agree. And, we always say hockey players, they're built different. And this is Grant just displayed kind of another way talked about another way they're built different. They believe in different things and certain superstitions.
Not to mention playoff beers.
There you go.
Yeah, I just think that this time the Oilers, this kind of goes to show maybe the Oilers are a little more loose coming into the Stanley Cup Finals, or they're at least understanding it is so hard to even get to the Stanley Cup Finals. It's hard to get to the NHL playoffs. Hard to get through it. So, of course, you should enjoy moments like these, because you just never know when it might happen again. You never know how many, bites the apple you're going to have. So, I think Edmonton this year is taking, especially Connor McDavid, they're taking a different approach. They're trying to enjoy it, embrace the moment. Sure, they're hoping to win it this time, but they're trying to be more loose as opposed to the last time. They were kind of tight last time. Even though they forced 7 games, they were the less experienced team compared to Florida, especially.
Well, a lot of us in Detroit would like to have a little bit of that enjoyment, but it looks like 10 years of no joy.
We'll see.
You're not alone. I mean, I know the Blackhawks haven't been to the playoffs since 2020, and we're not going to get there anytime soon right now. I like Connor Bedard, and I think he's going to be a wonderful player, and I hope Jeff Blashill does well as the new coach of the Chicago Blackhawks, but we still got a long ways to go on that rebuild.
Yeah, I wish him well. I mean, although for the 2 games we face you, he's dead meat.
Dead meat. One other thing I'd like to mention, both sides, both Edmonton and, I'm sure I'm repeating myself, but both the Panthers and the Oilers improved depth. Not just on the scoring, but on the defensive side as well. And depth is what gets you to the Stanley Cup. It's what wins you the cup. Just ask, teams like the Chicago Blackhawks, the 08 Red Wings, for example, those Penguins teams even, and the LA Kings, they had the depth. They had the pieces. And you know what? I think this is going to be a great Stanley Cup Finals, because both of these teams, not only they've improved their depth, both of them are deep. Each one's got, and we mentioned, that home ice, that's going to be a critical key. Florida had it last year. This time, Edmonton's got it.
Does that mean Edmonton wins the Stanley Cup, though? Not necessarily.
All right, so I know you guys like to make predictions. So, who you got, Tyler?
Ooh. I think it's time that Canada gets to hoist the trophy, and with all due respect to what's been going on, denies a few things from happening. Oilers win it in 5.
Ooh!
Oh!
Jake, what do you got?
You know what? I've said this in my Wax on Wednesday podcast, and I'm going to stick to my guns. The winner of the Western Conference Finals is going to go on and win the Stanley Cup, and I'm sticking with it. Edmonton Oilers in 7 games.
Wow.
All right, I'm going against you guys. I'm going with Florida. Yes. Florida Panthers. The Cup stays in the States for 33rd year.
All right.
All right, we're getting waved at, so it's time to end.
All right, then we will move along. So, other sports just to cover bases on. Okay, as far as you know, NBA playoffs. Indiana, New York going to six games, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm. 6 game then.
I'm rooting for the Pacers, of course, but this series continues to get interesting. And I'm trying to remember, you guys mentioned that there's also the Timberwolves and the
Oklahoma State Thunder are in the finals.
All right, so we got the first. So the Thunder,
Yeah.
first team in the NBA finals. Let's see. We're gonna find out who they're gonna meet up with. I'm still thinking Indiana wins, but we're gonna find out.
Yes.
And then, of course, as we mentioned, Detroit Grand Prix this weekend. Going to be interesting. Hopefully, here's things I'm going to be watching for. This track design. Hopefully, we don't have too many yellows or instances where guys are just pushing it all the way or going all into the corners and wham, into the wall. Because that's happened a lot in
Yes,
this
let's hope not.
Stanley Cup or
All right.
Detroit Grand Prix.
Say goodnight, Jake.
All right, without further ado, that is all the time we have, sports fans. Special thanks to Grant Smith for coming on the show.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, and special thanks to Tyler and everyone here in the Waterford studios for another wonderful production. With all that being said, we are going to sign off. This is Jake Waxman.
And Tyler Lavalette.
Wishing you all a good weekend. Take care, everyone.